no, I'm at home watching it on my iPad.
Oh, you're watching Zoom, okay.
Yeah, why don't you try?
Can you watch it on Zoom, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay,
all right.
all right.
Okay.
I won't keep you for a minute, Georgia.
Call you later.
If you're okay, I haven't heard from you. You're better than I am, so.
All right,
All right, I'll talk to you, bye-bye.
take care.
Babs, can you move your screen so we can see? There you go.
I've got it on her face.
Thank you.
Hi, Dan.
Hey, Babs.
This isn't easy, you worked on this system, it's doing great today.
I deserve no credit, but I'll take it. Thanks.
That's all right. Anyway. Well, this couldn't be a worse day.
Hmm.
Well, there's been so many of them.
It's been pretty miserable.
I know. Hi there.
Hey,
There's the
Jordana.
newlywed. Oh boy.
Uh,
How's the newlywed doing?
Great, thank you.
You got your honeymoon?
I got married twice. Yep. Same night. In the last couple of months, yeah.
Well, muscle top,
How is weather down there in downstate?
Oh, it's much milder. I mean, but we don't have a lot of snow, so, I have to say I do not miss, winter.
this is the first bad winter we've had in years. I guess we're getting used to it.
Yeah, yeah. If you're a skier,
It's been very, very slippery, very icy. That's been the issue. Just walking around, it's very treacherous. More so than I can remember. Like just the streets are plowed, but they're very slippery.
I know the pictures on there, when I rode my own Lexus, when I've been saying,
Yeah.
they were just okay, I don't understand why, but it's bad everywhere.
Oh, I know. I was thinking about the difference when a little kid falls. They just get up, right? Teenager falls, maybe they have a little bruise. You know, 30, 40 something fall, they get up the next day, maybe they go to the chiropractor. 60, you know, you just keep going up, and a fall means so much more.
Well, my grandson just had a concussion from this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different.
Dennis has to wait a little.
In his driveway.
Well, we should keep discussing. Perry, you look so serious. Nice to see you.
Perry's reading next month.
Oh, wonderful. That's
And
great.
Irene and Perry, yeah, they were so nice. You should come closer.
Your
I'm
mother's
sorry,
here?
your mother is here? Okay. There's Jordana.
Yeah, she's the newlywed. She just got married.
I know, and twice. I got married twice to the same man also, and I said, that's
Different
it.
ceremonies.
Well, one in America and one in Sweden. I said, that's it. I'm never getting married again, no matter what.
There's,
Here,
I think so, yeah.
So,
There-
yeah, it's Facebook, YouTube, and something Boxcast.
A boxcast from our website.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Just means if you click on our website. But it's better. Getting married twice is very different than there's this comedian. His name is Chris. He became Orthodox Jew, but before that he was Reform and conservative. And each time that he did a circumcision, and each time he had to do the circumcision over again. So he actually had 3 circumcisions. So that's better than 2 weddings. That's true. He does a whole comedy routine.
I know that one.
He was from LA. He moved to Jerusalem.
All right. Here I thought we would be all alone, Daniel and I, perhaps, the two featured readers, you know, but Buffalo, you impress me. Your people impress me. I really will say that. So I wanted to start tonight. It was an impulse. Please come closer. There are pockets in this room where you hear nothing. So if you find yourself in one of those seats, come close. So anyways, I wanted to open tonight's Buffalo Corner with the shortest and probably the most rebellious poem I ever wrote. Most of you remember, of course, the French philosopher Descartes, and he was famous. Did you know, by the way, that a Swedish queen killed him? That's a whole other story. I'm not going to get into this. Queen Christina, yeah, she did. Anyways, Descartes had a dictum, Je pense donc, je suis. I think, therefore I am. So this was my response. What is it, some 400 or 500 years later? Descartes and I. Woman, mother, daughter, wife. Therefore, I write. All right, hello and welcome. I don't know if we have any new visitors here tonight at the Buffalo Corner, but welcome, and I'm Gunilla Kester, and I wish to thank Rabbi Alex, Executive Director Joanne Marquesi, Congregation Shir Shalom, and of course my husband Daniel Kester, who is over here. I could not run this series without all of your support. I think it's been a difficult week here in Buffalo as we face the 16th anniversary of the crash of Flight 3407 on February 12, 2009. The events after the crash revealed the caring and the strength of the Buffalo community, and I want to thank all of you. People still come up to me in stores, in places, to tell me about something that Cantor Susan Whaley of blessed memory did for that person and that they remember. And I try always then to send it on. Welcome, to send it on to the family. I have contact with some of the sisters of Susan to this day. It has also been a very difficult, actually, day, I think, because I don't think anybody here has not thought about young mother Shiri and her two sons, Ariel and Queer, and in some ways in our thoughts and prayers for 500 days, we actually hoped against hope. And so I wanted to quote Emily Dickinson, the very famous American poet. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. Well, it did stop today in a certain way. So I was thinking now when I read it, if I brought this poem to my writing group that I've been a part of for a very long time, and I read, it sings the tune without the words, I would get 10 people telling me how to get rid of some of those. But you know, you hear the rhythm of it. It sings the tune without the words. If you take out some of those, yeah, sure, it's clearer, it's better in some way, blah, blah, but it's not as melodic or beautiful poetically. Please come forward if you find that you don't hear. I'm telling you, this space is beautiful, but there are pockets where you hear poorly. So please feel free to come in. I want to now welcome Rabbi Alex to say something and read a poem or two or three, whatever you want to do. It's your space.
Oh, well, it's all of our spaces, and how wonderful to host Buffalo Corner Reading Series. We've been doing this for, I don't know, 6, 7 years at this point. It's been, 5, huh? Okay.
Thank you.
We've grown. We're now into kindergarten. So Ganila, as you mentioned about this terrible tragedy in Israel, we have a connection because Shiri is in your family, and Shiri is in mine. My wife goes by Shiri. So I think it hits particularly strong. I have one poem to read. It is a poem I wrote this week, and it's about being guilty. I think a very common emotion that we have. This is called Guilt Offering. A wave of guilt, a parade of guilt, the weight of guilt, the way of guilt. Even for things not our own, how it settles in crevices, always finding a way to the heart. Time cannot be turned, the past remains, yet it still haunts. Long ago, before my ancestor or your ancestor wielded a sword, someone flinched. I could ask you the same, who destroyed whom, who desecrated which holy shrine? I'm not above approach, none of us are, yet the guilt remains, waving, parading, scurrying like mice in search of shelter, stopping short of stopping short, like a baby's tongue suckling at what we have no control. Enjoy. I look forward to hearing all our readers tonight.
Thank you, Rabbi, always. I think it's been 10 years since you started sharing your poetry with your congregation, or more than that, but thank you, and we love it. Now I want to introduce our first featured reader, Ida Göckel. You say Ida? Yeah, in Sweden we say Ida, so I just had to make sure. I do wish you to know that it was her birthday, just, 2, 3 days? So, happy birthday. Can we sing a little Yom Haledet Sameach? Anyways, we don't need to sing the whole thing, but we do want to. Yom Haledet Sameach. Yes, many more. Now, when I read what Ida gave me as her brief bio, I was thinking she must be 120 years old this year, old as Moses or something. Anyways, here it is. Ida Göckel is an outspoken philosopher, political activist, humorist, survivor, musician, and poet, hailing from Kenmore, whose poems and prose have been heard by many an unwitting audience at various local and regional poetry series, special events, and on social media. She was the creator and host of the Mighty Pen podcast on thinktwiceradio.com from 2012 to 2014. She's been published in A Flash of Dark, which is part, I think, of Gary O. Ross's publication, and he has been a part of us from the very beginning. She also is the author of a chapbook entitled Haiku Madness. All the proceeds from this chapbook are donated to an annual benefit that she founded and organizes called Female Musicians Fighting Breast Cancer. You see it on Facebook. That's where I see it. This year marks 21 years that this event has been held to raise funds for the Resource Center at Roswell Park. And I used to go there and play guitar. I did it for 10 years, and then I just said enough. I can't carry all this equipment anymore. But 21 years. She also studied in Israel for 11th and 12th grades, which was the reason I wanted to sing in Hebrew. Now I know where to go when I can't figure out something. Thank you. She returned home and completed a bachelor's degree in elementary education and later a multidisciplinary master's degree in education and counseling. From 1980 until she retired in 2020, she spent the bulk of her professional life as a human services coordinator, educator, and vocational rehabilitation counselor for the disabled population. She also has previously been the leader and bass player of an award-winning band and can still be occasionally seen heard, I would think, occasionally heard around town at various venues, nurturing the groove on her Fender P-Bass. Did you bring your bass? Oh, I should have told you to bring your bass. Now, how many of you know of or know a female bass player? I know a few guitarists. I'm a classical guitarist, but in my generation, our generation, there aren't that many. So please welcome.
Thank you, Gunilla. Thank you, Gunilla, for inviting me to read. One of the things I wanted to let people know is that I write a lot of different types of poetry, but I lean toward short forms of poetry like haiku and tanka and limerick and otava rima and sanyaru and Haiku Madness, which is my only chapbook right now. I mostly, because traditional haiku is about nature and everything, it's mostly sanyaru, it's about human nature. And so I thought I'd read a couple of those. Front lawn bird gossip. Clever chirping about folks, better than Twitter. My love for you is a tempest in a teapot, bad weather ahead. A doubting Thomas with massive paranoia, one epic skeptic. Let me see, there's invisible keys make it possible to write in between the lines. And finally, words from you be like nauseating flatulence. Do you catch my drift? I'm working on a manuscript, well, I've been working on a manuscript of tanka for a number of years. And I liked the title that I'm hoping to have for this chapbook is called Thank You, Thank You. And the opening poem is, I thank you for titillating tanka, tongue-tripping tanka, a teasing temptation for talkative haiku poets. I admire poets who adeptly turn a phrase. Vibrant wordsmith art drips from their lips a rainbow and paints words in my mind's eye. Not all great thinkers can poetically express, but poets can think philosophically and make it music to the ear. After the spring rains, her petrichor petticoat slipping and showing, colorfully revealing scented, sensual bloomers. Barefoot on the grass, The earth's vibration grounds me in bass frequency, hums to my soul in low tones, resonating my inner core. In today's market, I'm an obsolete product. Supply and demand placed me on the bargain rack. My shelf life has expired. Each day she goes out, her come hither sign is down, her love light turned off. She sprays on man repellent and all is right with the world. I'm also a big fan of alliteration. I've been working on a series of poems that go through the entire alphabet. This is the letter P, poem to fellow poets. Look at all the pretty people being positively productive, presenting and providing perfectly polished products for perusing and procuring. A pathetic projection of my own perilous procrastination. Well, poo on you. So those are some of my short poems. I also tend to, when I do write longer poetry, it usually carries a message. Or it might be nostalgic like this one. This is a poem that I wrote for my late mother, who in April will have been gone 27 years. And also the birthday that I just had is the age that she passed at. It's called Just Another Day. It's just another day and my stay-at-home mother is in her homemade terry cloth housecoat, dragging on a cigarette from her 3-pack-a-day habit and sipping her instant Sanka, letting the cigarette burn down in the ashtray as she prepares her plan of action. After careful consideration, she has laid out newly purchased fabric and a pattern on the dining room table to either fashion outfits for me or her popular Barbie doll clothes side enterprise. Spending hours on our Westinghouse sewing machine in the breakfast nook, letting many cigarettes burn down in the ashtray. Other days she has spread out selected art supplies for craft projects or centerpieces for various Hadassah or synagogue events. In between, she finds time to relax on the couch, mentally exercising by doing the newspaper crossword puzzle, doodling, reading, or writing letters, letting many cigarettes burn down in the ashtray. Then there were the extras, the nearly 24 papier-mâché puppets and their costumes that she designed for me when I expressed a desire to become a puppeteer. The writing and illustrating of private one-of-a-kind books and other poems and essays submitted and accepted for a variety of publications, all thoughtfully created while letting many cigarettes burn down in the ashtray. Entire days spending in the kitchen together, cooking and baking for traditional Jewish holidays, a joyful joint venture with dough, flour, rolling pin, and me, making delicacies like Hanukkah cutout cookies, hamantashi, blitzes, and marzipan, careful not to burn down cigarettes in the ashtray too close to the food. She graciously hosted countless card nights with friends until my dad, the king of debates, pissed them all off and they refused to come over anymore. I loved and missed card nights when I was allowed to come downstairs to greet adults who showered me with compliments and hugs, all the while inhaling the smoke from many cigarettes burning down in the ashtrays. No domestic goddess, she left the general house cleaning in my very young and incapable hands, which included emptying silent butlers filled with butts and ashes from the many cigarettes that burned down in the ashtrays. Nightly, my mother would sit closely with me on the couch, snuggled into her left side and read to me, narrating and role-playing in different voices, filling my head with imagination and planting seeds of creativity in order to circumvent the unexpected, dreary, and mundane life she had successfully navigated while letting many cigarettes burn down in the ashtray. This is a poem that I entitled it The Recipe for Life, or The Art of Diplomacy. Navigating in this makeshift kitchen we call life, and cooking a satisfying meal for all seated at the table depends on three things: how you react, act, and adapt the recipe. React to the pantry before you, the concocted combination of basic and often surprising cornucopia of ingredients. Taste them, smell them, breathe them in, let them linger on your palate, swish and gargle. Let them waft in your nostrils, inhale every nuanced aroma, then marinate them, ferment them, let them stew in their own juices. Add heat or reduce to simmer. In picking out the bones, ingest them, digest them. Feel what emotions they evoke. Add water, it makes its own sauce. Credit to Frank Zappa. Act and offer them in generous portions. Make them the appetizer, the entree, and the dessert. Let anticipation salivate like Pavlov's dog. With a watchful eye, observe others as your dish is set before them. Take note of squinted eyes or turned up noses. Pay equal attention to requests for second helpings. Beware of garishly lavish compliments, and so too those who are fondling sharp utensils. If the reviews are generally positive, jot that in the margins of your joy of life. If it receives deservedly biting critique, adapt. Don't change your entire cookbook or compromise your desired outcome. Just tweak it, refine it, maybe even decorate it. Make it more appealing and palatable for you and your company. This one I think is pretty relevant to today, and I'm glad that Gunilla brought up the Begas family. This is called Nostalgic Memories and Future Pasts. So often when we think back on our lives, we have to make a concerted effort to ferret out the happy moments from our life's unpleasant experiences, as bad memories are frequently mistaken for what shapes and impacts us the most. They are acute, traumatic, jarring. We forget how the simplest of pleasures may not be the shining highlights, the accolades, the awards, the accomplishments, but the little things that sustain us over time, the spontaneous laughter among friends, the hug from a loved one, the lesson from a mentor, family, friends, acquaintances, and colleagues, these things we take for granted. And I have observed that when we have gatherings, we are so focused on catching up on new developments in our lives that we forget to really connect on any meaningful level. We really don't remind one another what positive influence we've had in each other's lives. We don't express gratitude for our crossed paths, and we never say I love you and thank you enough. It is tasked to you, starting every day, to remember the things that make you smile, no matter how minute they seem to be. These are the things that give us hope, that allow us to carry on despite adversity. These are the things that thankfully keep us on track on our journey into the future. And I have two more, is that all right? This is I don't often do rhyming poetry, but this happens to rhyme. It's called You Don't Know Me. You don't know me because you're not me. And unless I clue you in, you don't know where I've been. Do you know where I've been by the color of my skin? Can you even write a page or accurately gauge what substance you can render by labeling my gender? Do you know what I know or what helped me grow? What do you see when you look at me? Does who I love really matter to you, or do you just like telling me what to do? Can you tell by what I wear what values we share? Can you tell by where I choose to pray that yours is the more righteous way? What kind of assumption will feed your presumption that we don't bleed the same, or that we must bear the blame for your perceived pain and stay in our own lane? You can't erase diversity. Humanity is so universally. Just because you decide to resist doesn't negate our right to exist. And if only all this division would cease, maybe we could finally achieve some peace. And finally, quite a while ago, English is my first language and Hebrew is my second, although I've forgotten much of it. I sat down and wrote a poem in Hebrew, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it line by line and translate it as I go. The name of the poem is The Mishneh, which means it matters. The Mishneh she'anu zochrim, it matters that we remember. Shekemat kol safa medaberet al shalom, that almost every language speaks of peace. V'kemat kol achad be'olam holem et zeh, and almost everyone in the world dreams of this. Ze mishaneh v'ze hashuv, it matters and it's important. She'anu simim lev, that we pay attention or take to heart. Ve'ovdim kashe yachad kedei litzur shalom, that we work hard together to create peace. Afilu im ele she'en lahem betui leshalom, even with those without expression for peace. Thank you.
So I think Ida has now reminded us of several things. For example, how beautiful it is to read a poem in a language you don't know. Have you ever tried? reading a poem in a language not your own. I happen to be able to read in 2 languages, I'm lucky. But I also thought she reminded us in the beginning of the importance of humor and briefness. Sometimes these poets can get rather blah, blah, you know what I mean. Brevity is, but humor is also very strong. And I thought repetition in the poem you wrote about your mother, the use of repetition and how a simple line about cigarette butts in an ashtray becomes a metaphor. This is a skill and a quality of writing that yeah, I'm going to go home and try it tonight. It was the repetition, and there was one more thing. Yeah, the metaphor that it becomes. I think that was the 4 things, right? But the beauty of a language you don't know, and the beauty of translation too. Anyways, thank you so much. And if you ever need a trained classical guitarist for your gigs, let me know. I don't play out much anymore, but I would enjoy it. So now it's my pleasure to welcome featured reader number 2, Liz Mariani, whom I believe I have known for maybe 20 years, on and off, partly because she featured me in one of her reading series down, was it on Allen Street or something? I don't know how long ago that was. And also that she had this, if I may say so, crazy idea that she wanted to write a poem in Swedish. Is that correct? There was something about Sweden in it all. And I think in the end she eventually did it. So good for her. And now Liz Mariani is a poet, visual artist, editor, and university lecturer. She earned an MFA in poetry from Mills College. She curated spoken word Sundays at the Allen Street Hardware Cafe, which won Best Spoken Word Event, Best of Buffalo via Art Voice magazine in 2008. Her latest workshop, Poetry is a Lion's Roar, was held remotely at near Shalom in Virginia. Work has been published in the anthology from SUNY Press, Italian Trans Geographies, 3 Serious Ladies, The Buffalo News, and The Waiting Room. Liz Mariani currently teaches poetry and writing at Buffalo State University and tutors poets privately in her studio. So please welcome Liz. I'm so excited you came. And I have a question afterwards. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for including me. Thank you, Ida. Thank you, all the members of my chosen family, family of origin, siblings, online and in person. I'm going to read some poems that I've written over probably the past 10 years. Some of them are intense. Most of them are intense. And some of them represent anger, and some of them represent joy, as life does. Hi, Felicia, and hi, Mom. Everybody's everywhere. So, this is from my thesis that I have not formally published. Some of these poems are published and some of them are not. So this is called If You Should. And Agnes Williams of Indigenous Women's Initiatives asked me for a poem for her Peace on Earth Month poetry event while I was in grad school at Mills College in Oakland during the pandemic and fires, because they happened all at the same time. It's a little bit of a zinger. So this is called If You Should. Should I raise it? Is that easier? Can you all hear me? Yeah? I forgot how to do this. It's been a minute. There we go. Oh, right. I'm certainly not getting any taller. The opposite might be happening, but we'll see. Here we go. If you should find the world lush, Lose yourself in the arms of a grounded love. Welcome the elegance of meteors. If you should hold the dreams belonging to your grandmother, if you should wake with laughter filling your wallet, roll into the frequent gusts of birdsong, recover the bodies of deflated ruminations, pause for thunder, for lightning, for water spouts. This is how the earth shakes in the sky. If you should float on silence, spin in prayer, breathe. If you should find a family, run to a safe place. If you should, you must. Woke up to a photographed body, dopamine liked more dopamine. There was an underreported overappreciation of unaccounted for overdoses. Humans are dead, humans are free, humans wait for dawn to spark a hostile grumbling. Volcanoes salivate, an air duct echolocation. Again, a train arrives. To take you where you go, to take you where you are going, to take you where you've been, to take you where you've left. The illusion of community fills. Like spider webs revolting, spitting, the new normal becomes somehow more newer and somehow more normal. Normal likes death. The sea and air fills with fire and orange meringue. The sky cracks as in crust, as in skin, as in uterus, as in blanket. Held by arms but not restraint, your lover is dead. Dead to the living, dead to the dead, suspended. It's a body you realize. There is no heat. Winter has come for my lover. They've taken them to a frozen place. In order to live, I must stay warm. I must stay alive. That's a COVID poem. To not know. We commit to becoming, we travel on the reflective composite of a layered psychic terrain. Here lies the consciousness of an individual person convinced of their singularity. But this is the consciousness of a family 2 generations deep. We are placid spectators to time, the time we are convinced we can gauge. Here lies the place at which you live. Here is the fresh water, as lake, as river, for drinking, for bleeding, for filling the womb. Here is a spot we can rest, soaking in a winterized Franglish. This is memory. You can choose to rest, or you can choose to fall backwards onto flypaper, the resulting adversary. We are stuck. Are we stuck? Are we unmoved and unmoving? The way from here to there doubtedly and casually wages as a search in something. Something pulls. Eventually, something moves. In March of 2021, I was living alone during the pandemic in Oakland, California, at my MFA program. And I sent this poem to Bob Pohl, the former editor of the Buffalo News poetry page. And it was pretty, and it's still pretty rare for a newspaper in a city to have a poetry page. And as far as I'm concerned, all the newspapers need poetry pages, and all of the corporations need poets in residence, and all of the law firms need artists in residence. If we're gonna get back to our humanity, we have to let loose a little bit and express. So here's a little intensity for you. It's called the Watershed Prayer. We knew what it was, something frigid about adrenaline, making solid promises in the distance. The whole town had a distinct umbilical fever. Everyone was in labor, all the pregnancies we gave to rape, even old white men with their football beer bellies and porn addictions were squealing into the night, blaming themselves for their obvious gestation. The river swelled. There was only one way to die. There were so many ways to live. Banks begin to lift their foul corporate breast pumps from the soil. In a vertical charge, the lake takes the podium. Fascists fall limp, unable to swing swastikas from their local carousels the way they've grown accustomed to, conditioned to. Their children, their wives, their mothers divorce them, disown them, estrange them. Some steal children for a living. Others are middle-class distance murderers pacing their eyelid-blinking mouse clicks, counting down the days to retirement. This was never your sitcom dream. Even your award shows have award shows now, America. It doesn't change how segregated this city is. Don't you see the sickness yet? We run into ourselves. This is who we are now. Is this you? Did you run into these houses of ice, these houses of echoes, these houses of rot, expecting heat? Who are we to demand anything with so much fresh human blood on our hands? Who are we to gauge anything when we lack the movement and the muscle memory to clean up our own homes? How long will we name this beast until we willfully kill it? This poem is called Keywords to Use in Case of Emergency. Memory becomes food, food becomes death, death becomes healing, healing becomes escape, escape becomes winter, winter skips spring, becomes fall, fall becomes nuclear, nuclear becomes extended, extended becomes tech, tech becomes art, art becomes emergency. Emergency becomes death, death becomes extended, extended becomes memory, memory becomes escape, escape becomes winter, winter becomes tech, tech becomes healing, healing becomes fall, fall becomes art, art becomes keywords, keywords become nuclear, nuclear becomes death. If I love you, I will write you poetry. This goes for lakes, rivers, skies, birds, planets, cities, movements, revolutions, continents, humans, lovers, and trees. Yes, palm trees. I can't guarantee I'll always write in American English as I am returning to the language of my ancestors. But I can promise I'll fold time and sob for the future the best way I know how, just to say thank you. Toda. Please be gentle with each other. This shift feels like an open wound. One second. This is from my grandmother. I'll mention guccidari in this, and this is like a Sicilian fig cookie. Big fan. My grandmother always used to make them. This is one way. The child asks, how do you recognize death? Is it the sound of raptors sliding a festive protractor on flickering twin mirrors? Is it the timed exhales of snow-dusted gazelles lifting their silent necks, gracing landing strips in cities like Toronto and Buffalo, but not actually Toronto or Buffalo? Is it the weight of one collapsing tiger immortalized like sculpture for voyeurs and documentaries and photographs? Is it the lifespan of a paused subtitle cooked in a screenshot, better for the memorizing than the memory? The child asks again, how do you recognize death? How can you insist time is linear? We as a family want to explain what has become of humanity, but there are no words in this language, at least at this time, on this planet. We know we are consumers. We consume ourselves. We can tell under this cultural lens memories are cheap, cheaper than they used to be. Even death has folded under our constant taking and keeping. This is the cost of holding everything. Maybe we can recognize death by the clasp we are able to release. Maybe we are falling from monkey bars of the womb or the edge of a Navy vessel. Maybe we are challenging our feasted sun, attempting to blot light with our pounding fists, aiming for the sky. Maybe we are children holding hand to ankle to our siblings in a chain of resistance. Maybe death isn't death. Maybe there's simply nothing to recognize. I've been dreaming my grandmother's dreams since she died. I've been craving the nursing of newborns, the atmosphere of anise, the fig mud of Cucciadati, keeping my feet on the ground, this ground. I've been dreaming my grandmother's dreams since she died. This is a generational relay. This is one way to have a conversation about death. So, how am I doing for time? Okay. So I had the joy and opportunity and privilege of reading a poem for a wedding renewal in Burlington, Vermont once. And I want to give you a little of the dynamics of the wedding renewal. This was a heterosexual couple, and one of the individuals in the partnership went through a transition and changed their gender, and they renewed their wedding renewals. They renewed their vows as a lesbian couple. So I just want to let you know that this is where I read this poem, and I also want to call attention to the care that we need to extend to all of the members of the LGBTQ family around the world, in this country, in this state, in this county, in these cities, and especially trans and gender nonconforming peoples of all ages. This is a time when we need to show up, as we've always needed to, but really. This is for Jessica and Rebecca's wedding renewal. When we first come into being, our relationship to sunlight is confusing. Some of us feel warmth first, some of us see brightness, some of us lean into our own late summers, early fall winds, to the late fall blanket of perceived loneliness, of misunderstanding, of wilted silence, of reflection and desire, remembering sunlight, remembering warmth. We go on, we turn, just like this paradise planet spins a vibration. We hear and respond with the gestures of our hearts. It's not a formula, it's an experience. When we are left with nothing but the language of our tormentors, facing purple winters, enduring their breathing, their sleeping sunsets, when we are left with nothing but a brisk wind escaping from the crystals of our destruction, when we are left with regenerative songs of monarchs and accordions, when we are left with the love of our ancestors and children, when we cultivate an enduring and an active peace, we come to. We arrive. We are reborn into the universe of kindness, of a conceptualized and imagined warming, a singing love, the songs of birds, a love song, these community meals and conversations, to walk with a constant skyscape, to become like the trees and the birds and the seasons, to wake with, to cry with, to endure with, to be gracious in the face of, to evolve, to ripen, to be of your mother's 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 mother, to unearth nostalgia, to plant seeds of floral remittance where wildflowers and birch, where egrets chase solitude, where mountains make winters of our aspirations, where the full season of gratitude has no attachment to your lifespan, where your quality of living depends upon your ability to love and be loved, for your simplest calculations of starshine, of growth, of endurance, of reaching, like broken roads finding ways to have a posture, any posture, upon this earth. For the better parts of your soul finds a union, a reflection, finds a complementary tone, complementary tone in living, in life. This is the connection you have with your highest self. This is how you love the people you love. In this place, on this day, with these beautiful people, with this loving community, for this reason, we have gathered our love for your love. We gather out of respect for how you express gratitude in the altruism of returning, of active memory, of days of joy, of calibrations. This is the place we love. This is the place we live, where mornings wake with us when we find our loves in the way we lived, to be more than a precious concept and anything less, and less than anything we can control. This is our collage of joy and desire, of uncomfortable seeking, of family, of families, of partnerships, of life, of living, of love, in love. Once again, we return and renew. I'm gonna read two more, if that's okay. This is gonna be a little painful for me to read, but I wanted to share something with you. So we had this homework assignment when I was in my grad program, and one of my readers for my thesis was Juliana Spar, who is a famous eco-poet and went to the PhD program in poetics at UB. We were told to make found poetry, which means that we took the words of from other places and mixed it in from some technical language. So I took some reports on honor killings from from Italy, drug overdoses in the United States, unilateral hearing loss in children. I'm a hard of hearing person, and some reports on NORAD. And I made a poem, so let's see what happens. It's called Mélanger, which means mixture in French. Mélanger, mixture, mixture, mixture. Italian Penal Code Art 587. He who causes the death of a spouse will claim minimally attended radars were installed, but the honor killings indisputably increased from 1.0 in 1999 to 3.1 in 2009, then increased again to 4.4 in 2016 and 2017. Remember, this is southern Italy and North Buffalo. The localization of urban and rural second conditions in all groups of 8, we took it to trial, but will be forced to assemble at church. They will be sentenced to 2 to 3 to 7 years. Double ear speakers control localization statistics. Don't forget the airborne gap subjects numbered 12 to 30 years of age. Generally, the horizontal plane determines death. It's like forgetting. It's like forgetting. It is the forgetting that is the crime. The region maintains readiness to conduct a continuum. The author's conclusion was that children with aerospace control missions will continue to demand to be included in daily air sovereignty routines. In peacetime, the poorer, the greater the hearing people's claim without involving natural and semi-synthetic opioids, which include general communication difficulties. Upon discovering her an illegitimate carnal relation's daughter or daughter-sister, we cannot pinpoint a specific reason why it occurred, and in the heat of passion caused by the offense to his honor or that of his family. Did the Niagara Falls Boulevard Funeral Home visit take out any socioeconomic factors? Who performed better? Who is well liked? This includes performative deaths resulting from unintentional or intentional overdoses of drugs, being given the wrong drugs, taking of the drug in error, or taking a drug inadvertently. Comparing siblings was that we cannot pinpoint a specific reason. The rate of overdose deaths, which include general communication difficulties, psycholinguistic dysfunction, ability to learn language, contingency and or deterrence in times of tension, and an active oral defense against manned and unmanned airborne vehicles in times of crisis. This is a defense speech language delay maneuver. General communication difficulties are underreported by children in child reports. The slithering rich perform best except when they perform better on all psychosocial functioning tests in well-lit rooms. This as compared to poor double ear, deaf, bilateral hearing loss losers. The author's conclusion was that children do respond well. The demonstrated love of a son, dear brother, cherished grandson, of CARM's social economic grandmother capabilities to intercept the life show shadow, time escort, defense divert, direct landings, and if necessary, use force to and including the destruction of airborne objects. The author's conclusions was that children with unilateral hearing loss demonstrated buildup of air defense capabilities. By maintaining surveillance of Canadian and U.S. airspace, determine what goes on and near North American airspace 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What we consider appropriate delayed amplification may lead to auditory deprivation, and the benefits of amplification have been proven. Get loud. And just one more. This I wrote in El Salvador during a rainy season. The word temblores means earthquakes. It's called to wash. Oops, sorry. Yeah? Boop, boop, boop. The faucet again opens from the sky. Anything frivolous dashes for cover. This, they say, is how the heavens speak. All speech rumbles with thunder. Eyes flash nearly in sync. All speech glorifies the morbid. All speech becomes mirror. Thunder replies to the cantor of temblores left silent days, weeks before. The strands of earthen thrusting ebbs, it flows. Rain waves. Wickedness crashes. The clouds give back. Return for the greater good, for dissolving weakened sand into itself, for lacerating the land. Breathe volcanoes through pastures of semicolons, translucent lead pollen, with a voice of humility from a thirsty mouth. Speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Here everything speaks. The birds speak, earth speaks, the room speaks, even if they are frozen. It's a very creative landscape. And I was thinking, we talked before about repetition, finding metaphor, and here we also see repetition finding analysis that moves into some other sphere. I need to read some of these things to be more eloquent about it. But it's theme and variation in a very creative way. And thank you, Liz, for joining the Buffalo Corner. Now, we usually, at this point, before I wrap up the whole sandwich, at the end of the night, we usually have a brief Q&A. Do we have any questions from the audience here, from the audience online? Is there anything you'd like to ask either of our talented writers tonight? Yes? Yeah. I was asked, I was hired, I was paid. Thank you very much. I didn't hear the question.
Did I read the wedding for the renewal at the...
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I was hired, I was paid, I did it, yeah.
Very good, very good. I was particularly interested in your honor-killing poem. It's probably, you know, in my country, in Sweden, because of the immigration, we have seen a terrifying amount of these honor killings by families. They push the young women out from the balcony or from the windows. Yes, sir.
I have a question for Liz, or anybody else who wants to answer it. What's the difference between a chosen family and a chosen people?
Oh, the question is, what's the difference between a chosen family and a chosen people? And I think...
I can say that a chosen family is a term that is often used for people who have struggled to have sometimes consistent positive
I guess there is the issue of choice. If we use the word choice, God chose a chosen people, and we choose our chosen peoples in some way. But any other questions? Anybody online wanted to ask something, or we'll just go on because it's probably still snowing out there, and we all want to get home safely. So let me get to it. Any questions anymore?
You know, I just wanted to let people know I do have some copies of my book with me.
Okay, so afterwards outside, I want to get one. Okay. Absolutely, I laughed. I need more of that. So the next Buffalo Corner is on March 20th. It just so happens it's always on the third Thursday, unless there is a Jewish holiday, so we can't be in this place. So hopefully the weather will be a little better on March 20th, and we welcome then poets Irene Seipos and Perry Nicholas, both of whom has guest hosted or hosted with me this series at various times. And then in April, on April 17th, we have the community open poetry read in honor of National Poetry Month, if we still have a National Poetry Month. I mean, it seems like everything that's good in America, it's just being canceled. But we will come and read poetry no matter what. So bring one or two poems of your own or a poem that you love, and just come and enjoy and sit here with us and read. Yes? Oh yeah, but I'm not done with this, but thank you. So on May 15th, we have our annual Mystery Month. For those of you who are not familiar with it, Gary Ross comes, he writes mysteries, and he brings in some of his friends. Some have come from New York City, many of them are from around here or Toronto, and it's all about murder and things like that. It's a very, it's one of our most beloved events every year. So I do want you to know about that. And I do want to mention that Daniel and I have been horribly, wonderfully impulsive and bought a new house. So we are living now around 100,000 boxes. You know, it's like a labyrinth. And one thing, I own too many books, but I did find a whole shelf full of the poets and writers over the years. I put them in a box, and if anybody would like to have them, just let me know. You can have them. No charge anything. Otherwise I have to recycle them. I just have to sort of. If you want them in your office, you can. Anybody, just let me know. All right. So before we leave, I thought, is it okay if I read a poem or two? Are you in a hurry? This is a poem I wrote for my beloved cantor, Susan Whaley, who was our cantor here when it was Temple Beth Am, and we were good friends. We made a CD together, and her death was horrifying and unexpected, and I still have a hard time saying her name without feeling like I want to cry. It's been 16 years, but here's a poem I wrote to her, and right after the crash, and it was something our rabbi at the time, Rabbi Erwin Tannenbaum, he was translating a passage of Torah from Hebrew, and he said, yeah, the word is this, but what it really means in Hebrew, and I don't remember, I think it was from Kings, what it really means is streetness. And this word resonated with me, some kind of quality, and I wrote it in my notes, and I went home, and this is my poem for Cantor Susan Whaley. Go now to your streetness. Go now to your streetness. I'll stand here and spit on the sidewalk. Last night you threw pebbles from your window. I went back and picked up every one. Walls you rest on or climb over, you said. But I am running right into this one. Again and again, crush my mouth open. I at the side of the street when you walked by. You stopped, put your hand on my foot, rested there, looked at me on my ladder, hand stretched toward the light bulb I meant to change. Before you even stopped, I renamed your street and mine. When you came walking down that ugly street, I, on a wobbly ladder, trying to fix my streetlight, dogs barked. Toothless women smacked their lips. Old men remembered to whistle. Young girls lifted their skirts higher. Cars screeched mercy. An evening blue and smooth like a moon of unrest, letter of need, sign of desire. Everything has its color. Follow me. Thought I could keep you. Folly me. Thought you'd walk by. Worn out by disease and poverty, worn out already by tomorrow, when you stopped by my ladder and counted the bones in my foot. Calls of protests, warnings scribbled on walls, buses, poems, names of those arrested, killed, our book of the dead, our lexicon of grief, our alphabet of woe, who by water and who by fire. Grief and fury pull me into brutal beauty. On porches, in palaces, they scatter pearls everywhere. Their street, the blade of a sharp knife, a shard of glass cuts through my cheek a new mouth. What will it say? Known to river gods and ghosts looking for their shape, I am beside myself. There I will wait for my return. Those were very difficult days. Oh, I will end with this poem for my grandmother and great-grandmother. We have heard about some generations here. This is a more recent poem called Borderlines. And I think it was mainly inspired by this war in Ukraine, Russia. You know, I am European. I know borders. My grandfather was skiing on the Finnish-Russian border in those white ski patrols, and making sure no Russians came into Sweden back when I was little. Borderlines. Cook now the ancient way. Black iron kettle on the open fire like my grandmothers and their mothers did. Put in it whatever you find. Potato, turnip, rutabaga, carrot, swede. You know there's a root vegetable called swede. Laugh at the name when you add the swede. So tough and dry, won't break for nothing, hard to digest. We boiled old Christina when she stopped laying eggs. Heat bricks in the fire, stick them under your skirt. Your great-grandmother was tied to the stockade for stealing bread to feed her sons. I must give you the ornate antique silver spoon my mother gave me on the night before my wedding, the last thing here of value. Large but supple, you can hang it inside your shirt, a leather thong around your neck. I found some fallen apples under your birthday tree, but left them on the ground. Some knowledge we just can't live with. How many people have we never met, yet remember? Your grandmother in the food lines after the Second War, hearing, oh, they had too many holes left in those chimneys. Twice now I have dreamt you came in quietly behind me, following. Starling shadow, what does that mean? Thank you. That's it. Thank you all for coming. I can't believe so many of you braved the snow. Please go home safely. If you have any questions, Ida has some of her books. We will do the buying and selling out in the hallway. If anybody wants one online, you can tell me. I can buy an extra. And otherwise, I'll see you next month. Thank you all. Thank you, Liz. I saw you there. It's been a while. Bye-bye. Thank you. And welcome back. Actually, I recycle since we have it online. But thank you anyways. Keep track of me. I'm very much not I'm not organized. I may appear organized, but I Thank you for coming.
start talking to Joanna.
I want to talk to Matt Call, who works for ads. Last place I worked was as a European recovery coach.
To do what?
But I worked for 30 years. Yeah, in a way. The place you need to have. The night. Hi, do you remember me? Hey, you're retired now? Yeah, it's been 10 years now. I like your positively perfect people.
Oh, you're welcome. You're just gonna.
It's so weird that we don't feel safe in our real spaces anymore. No, I mean like what you feel in the window. I go to the gym and I like to park because I don't see so well, so I park a little to the side of these bushes. Every single time I go to my car, I think Hamas. What if they were in the bush? You know what I mean? Like it's just crazy. And here too, with all our parameters. Oh, I should get another dog like Lily and Leo, and then we can. Oh, they will find any intruder in seconds flat.
Yeah. This was who did this?
Well,